I'd like to call this meeting to order on the reinvestment zone number 3 downtown special meeting. Ms. Huerta, please call roll.
Chairman Billy Lerma.
Here.
Board members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Barbara Canales.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo. Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter. Mr. Hunter. Okay, I don't hear him. Susan Hutchison.
Here.
John Martinez.
Here.
Ben Molina is absent. Mike Pusley. James Sedgwick. Greg Smith is absent. Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Is there
Mr.
anyone
Chairman,
here
can you
who
hear
would
me
like
now?
to make a public comment?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who was speaking?
Michael Hunter.
Oh, Michael.
Oh,
Okay, Michael's here.
Sorry. Thank you.
He lives.
Moving to public comment, is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment? Ms. Huerta, do we have anyone with a written public comment?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda items G. Motion approving amended number 1 to the downtown streetscape reimbursement agreement for Fieldberry LLC, which will provide a 6-month extension to that developer. Must be completed improvements on or before February 28th, 2022. Go ahead.
Good morning, board members. Jason Alanis, Economic Development Manager for the DMD. The project, is it on? Can you hear? Is it? Oh, yeah. There's no, yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, this item that I'm bringing forth is the completion date amendment to the bus Tasty Bites at 702 North Chaparral. This project consists of installation of a retrofitted shipping container into a commercial kitchen. And the kitchen will have outdoor dining patio, shade structures, lighting, and landscaping. And it will allow for bus to finally have permanently offer food options. The developer did encounter several delays due to supply chain issues and contractor delays in their permit submittal process. However, they are under final permit review and do expect to start construction within the next couple of weeks. To date, the developer has purchased their shipping container in addition to most of the materials and appliances needed for the retrofit and install. They are fully committed to finishing this project within the requested revised schedule. Stand by for any questions.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, board? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving to item 2, motion to approve service plan for fiscal year 2022 and renew interlocal cooperation agreement between Corpus Christi Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 3.
Good morning.
Good
board
morning.
members. Heather Hilbert, Director of Finance. I'm going to go ahead and just open this up, and then Alyssa will go into the service plan. But what this is on an annual basis, the DMD does help us manage our TIRZ number 3. And so we have a contract with the DMD to do that. And it is based off of, they bring a service plan every year. The board approves that service plan, and by approving that service plan, that also then approves the next year of the interlocal agreement. So Alyssa, it will present what they include and what they have proposed for their service plan for the next year. And then once that, if the board does decide to approve that, then that will extend the interlocal agreement with the DMD for another year to manage the TIRZ number 3.
Okay.
Good morning, board members. Elizabeth Mason. This year, we do have an additional feature as part of the service plan renewal. We have written a new 5-year strategic plan. So the presentation that I will be going over this morning will integrate those two components, bringing you up to speed on our new strategic plan, and then getting into the details for the service plan about how we're going to implement this new vision and mission statement that we've adopted. So this presentation will refresh on how it all works. This is probably the most unique structure that the council interacts with regarding, relationships and a service contract. So it is a little different than a lot of the existing relationships that you have with other entities. So provide some context there to kind of be able to move forward in that framework. There are 2 documents in your packet. So we have the service plan, which is the first item attachment for this item, as well as the new 5-year strategic plan. So you have those for reference. So we'll go over about the DMD, refresh on dashboard indicators about what we've been able to accomplish, and then dive into the strategic plan and then the service plan, which is ultimately the focus of this agenda item. So about the DMD, we have on the left a map of the downtown management district and the reinvestment zone, again, to help you visualize how these things interact. The Marina Arts is the name that we have given to the neighborhood that is the downtown management district. That is where the property owners pay a levy higher than the rest of the city. The reinvestment zone then is the dotted line around that. It's much bigger, almost 3 times the size of the DMD. It goes Tonkawa all the way east to the bay and Morgan all the way north to the ship channel. So through our contract with you, we facilitate the incentives for that entire boundary. We continue to focus on the Marina Arts District and moving that district forward because that really is, the place we want to have that premier experience, and hopefully we'll be the leader in that regard. But we do provide services and facilitate development in the larger area based upon the arrangement with this board. We have a new vision and mission statement, taking into account all of the new leadership in the community and really the new landscape that we have in our city. So our new vision mission statement is the vision of the downtown management district is to create the most vibrant downtown on the Gulf of Mexico by instituting a clean and safe environment, creating a welcoming, well-designed waterfront, developing a robust, sustainable neighborhood, promoting remarkable, prismatic experiences, and growing our team's capacity to accomplish the vision. We also have some new values, really showing what our team stands for. We like to be collaborative. We are comfortable taking a leadership role. A lot of these concepts that we introduce at this level are new to our community. So that requires, a level of comfort with taking that leadership role and introducing them. Being creative, being determined. We are passionate, so everyone on our team really loves downtown and the waterfront community that we have. And we are tenacious, so our team is not comfortable just talking about ideas. We really like to see projects through to the end. And I think that you see that when you see the progress that's happening downtown and how we've improved things. It's really that tenacity that is driving that, because that is just a natural thing that we all have. Going into the budget and funding model. So because we have so many different funding sources, it's important for us to be very transparent on how we allocate those resources. On the left, we have the aqua table that shows our expenses by goal. The overall expenses are in the 2022 column, and then we have it designated by DMD, city, and TIRZ. So you can see how we allocate those revenue sources by department. On the right, we have our overall revenues by sources. So we show our DMD levy, the city contract, which is a dollar-for-dollar match of the levy, and an additional $100,000 for off-duty police programs. We have our sponsorships, events, and memberships. We have our Downtown Advisory Council, which is a corporate group, corporate regional leaders who are contributing and investing in the revitalization cause, because a strong downtown improves their ability to maintain qualified workforce. And then the TIRZ service contract. So that has grown to take up almost half of our budget. Combined, it's about 70% of our overall budget comes from the TIRZ or the City General Fund contracts. So we are very appreciative of that. We completely understand that we wouldn't be able to do any of this work without the support of this board. And so thank you very much. We also have a pie chart at the bottom, really kind of showing the percentages of our different expenses and our revenues. So you can really see how our organization is made up. This next slide provides that same kind of insight into how we fund our different functions and positions. So the colors continue to align with the previous slide, identifying the different revenue sources, so that you can see my position, for instance, is funded part by the levy, part by our fundraising and our advisory council, and then about half by the TIRZ. And so that pattern continues throughout all of the positions on our team. You see that there are 2 positions fully funded by the TIRZ, a third that we've just added. That's our urban planning and urban design manager and our economic development manager and our economic development assistant. And then we have different kind of roles for each person on our team in relation. So there's a small portion of the funding that funds our graphic designer who helps put together all of these documents, who puts together the promotional pieces that we use to go and recruit businesses. So that's kind of how all of that functions together. And then we wanted to provide credit just to the advisory council. These companies have committed along with you. They appreciate your leadership and are also invested in the revitalization cause. So as part of one of the benefits, they want to make sure that you guys or this board is aware that they are also linking arms with us and moving downtown forward, and they've made that financial investment. So having these different sources of funding, a municipal management district, along with the reinvestment zone, along with the corporate support, is really a best practice. This is pretty standard in how downtown initiatives are structured across the country. It's a new thing for us. We hadn't had it like this before, but I think you hopefully agree that we've been able to see a lot of progress with this structure finally in its proper place. And then finally, our planning and reporting structure. So the Downtown Area Development Plan was a city-led initiative in 2014. It is a 20-year time frame. There are 5 vision statements and 10 key initiatives. Whenever this plan was developed, the community was very kind of burnt out on plans that sit on a shelf. So we really carved out a space and became dedicated to implementing this plan so that we can provide a really strong example of how planning can be conducted and then implemented in a community. So this is actually, everyone has a role to play in the implementation of this plan. There are a few areas that are specific to the downtown management district, things like retail, public spaces, clean, safe spaces. We're taking more of a leadership role, and from that, we develop our strategic plan. So we have our downtown area development plan, our strategic plans, which have a multi-year time frame, and then our annual service plans. Our strategic plan set the vision, mission, establish the goals and strategies. Our service plan sets objectives and budgets for those strategies, and then our annual report includes audited financials and then our benchmarks and metrics. So that, again, is just a refresher on how our planning iterations are structured. So into our dashboard indicators. This map shows where we have been able to facilitate projects. Since 2016, we've had $72 million worth of projects develop in the reinvestment zone. We have $144 million worth of projects under construction, and then $172 million worth of projects in pre-development. So these are people who have a contract on a building or are working through their financials or trying to secure that financing. And we are actively supporting those projects every day, moving them forward with the next deadline or the next step that they need to accomplish. And before you know it, we have a brand new downtown business. But it really takes that constant mining and supporting in order to keep these things moving forward. So that's why we have capacity now to do that. Another important dashboard indicator, our perception survey. So this is a survey that is conducted every other year, starting in 2015. In 2015, we found out the downtown user had a higher average median income than the rest of the community. That has continued to hold true. We've also been continuously a strong location for people to visit. Our visitation rate is actually double the national average. So across the country, people go to their downtowns an average of 13 times in a 6-month period. They come to ours 28 times, right? That's pretty significant. Our downtown is really important for the region. And then my favorite data point here is that is people who consider moving downtown. So in 2015, 11% of those surveyed, 15% of millennials, and 7% of downtown users considered moving downtown. In 2021, we have 39% of all surveyed, 56% of millennials, and 45% of downtown users. So that shows we've been able to move, right, the value proposition forward and increasing the appeal of downtown. And that is a very significant accomplishment. And finally, engagement. So whenever we were developing this new 5-year plan, we wanted to engage with the community and understand what people's perceptions were. Okay, what was the next thing that you saw as the most outstanding that we needed to accomplish? We had workshops with co-creators in the community, so people who have opened businesses. We were surprised to find that the things that they were most interested in were trees, greenery, landscaping, and design. That was consistent, right? Whenever we talked to somebody who had opened a business, they would talk about other cities that they had been, like Mexico City or, different places where there's a lot of greenery and a lot of landscaping. And so they thought, in a coastal community, we should have more along those lines. We had an internal workshop in our board retreat where it indicated the biggest concern was capacity. So, I mean, there's a lot we can do to move downtown forward, but we only have a certain number of people working on that day in and day out. So wanting to make sure we had enough capacity to move, forward the items that we all know need to be accomplished. And then we had our online survey as well as meetings to review the draft plan. Our 2021 community survey had 793 responses in a very short window. We want to thank the city and Visit Corpus Christi for sharing our survey across platforms. Some of the things that we learned from that survey, people really use Facebook to get information. A clean and safe environment is the most important thing for a downtown to be considered vibrant, followed quickly by a robust food scene. And then people really like the new businesses. So that is some of the things we learned in that survey. So moving on into the 5-year strategic plan and service plan. Again, our vision and mission establishes our goals and our mission elements, but the service plan builds out SMART objectives, so specific, measurable, actionable, reasonable, and time-bound. We have an example here of how we drill down from that mission element all the way to a specific objective. And then going into our goals and mission elements, I will elaborate on district operations, placemaking, and economic development because those are the main elements funded by this board. In district operations, our goal is to institute a clean and safe environment. You can see we have made progress. So since 2015, 45% of people thought downtown was clean. 48 thought downtown was 45. 42 thought downtown was safe. In 2021, we are up to 60% of people thinking downtown is clean and 56 thinking downtown is safe. But our Texas benchmark is 86% thinking downtown is clean and 67 thinking that it is safe. So we have a ways to go in really kind of reaching that Texas benchmark, which is what you need if you're going to be the most vibrant downtown on the Gulf. So going into the strategies, how are we going to move that forward? We're going to improve cleanliness and perceptions of cleanliness by 5% annually. In the service plan document, this is behind item number 2. If you have a hard copy, we have some more specific objectives. So for improved cleanliness and perceptions of cleanliness, we have provide our 8-member clean team, survey stakeholders to understand how do you define clean, conduct an audit of our service levels to identify additional capacity that we may need in FY23, explore the addition of a hot water pressure washer, which is going to be a more thorough clean, something we've kind of visited in our conversation about the seawall. Whenever we were talking about cleaning the seawall, I started looking at the sidewalks in the district and realized those are also filthy. So figuring out how are we going to go and comprehensively improve the condition of all of these spaces. Evaluating where the clean team is operating out of, because currently the space, is it still an optimal location? Is there somewhere that makes more sense, especially when we have so much vacancy in the district? Is there something street level we can move to for the clean team? Exploring the possibility of a partnership with the city in order to get service calls. Currently, the way that we deploy our clean team is somebody calls or texts them, which is a little bit of a difficult way to then track that benchmark, right? So we know when we respond to something, but we don't know what the response rate is or how many calls are coming in. So could we coordinate with the city and maybe collaborate in some way to streamline that and have that one main entry point? And then developing a communication plan for social media. So we want to improve cleanliness and perceptions of cleanliness. So really focusing on what we do to keep downtown clean and incorporating that as part of, the narrative about what we do at the downtown district. Now I can go into that level of detail for every strategy that we have for this arena. Is that something that this board would like to hear, or do you want me to keep it higher level for this conversation? Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Okay, Melissa, I asked you for a detailed breakdown of your budget, and I looked at it, and while we're on the subject of the clean team, almost 50% of your budget for this year is for the clean team. So I think it's 490, just shy of $500,000, and your total budget is 1.7. So
Yes, sir.
what the heck is it that the clean team does that, or how did we get to $500,000 in expenditures for the clean team?
Absolutely. So the clean team provides the most basic and important function for revitalization. If you look at any of the materials on how you revitalize a part of a community, they have like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs structure, and clean and safe is the bottom.
No, I understand all that, but I see the little guy driving around downtown in the cart picking up trash. Does it cost $500,000 to do that, or what are we doing that costs $500,000? I understand the logic behind what we're doing.
Absolutely. So if you go to in your document, do you have the hard copy?
No, we do not.
All right. We have statistics. There's actually 8 people who are out cleaning up every day. It is very challenging work to be out there cleaning up. For instance, they have had to clean up 6,140 instances of human waste throughout the district. That's one thing that our clean team has to do. They've collected 4,802 bags of debris in this fiscal year. They've maintained 4,526 iterations of trash cans. The planter maintenance, the reason that we have all those functional, beautiful flowers that everyone compliments is because of the clean team. It is a large expenditure. In other downtown districts, they have a 80-person clean team. For instance, in San Antonio, we have 8. So it is, the highest and most important, and that is why we lead with it, because we can't really do anything else if things are filthy.
Is the city not doing any cleaning down there at all, Peter, or?
In the downtown area, not necessarily. We'll help if we need to. If there's a major event, we'll do some augmentation.
Yeah.
But in the DMD district, we pay the DMD to take care of it for us.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, well, I just thought that was,
That's a,
50% of your budget is going for cleaning.
Yes, sir. And honestly, it is not, we don't even properly allocate resources to get to the level of service. If we want, to have a downtown, there's still things that are dirty. The company that we use, Block by Block, is also the same company that cleans Houston, San Antonio, New Orleans. They have the economies of scale, the best practices.
So you're contracting this out? You're
Yes,
not-
sir.
These are not
Right.
DMD employees?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. All right,
And
thank
then,
you very much.
Councilman Pusley and Chairman, if you don't mind, so the city does do street sweeping in the downtown area. We pay for that.
Yeah, that's a newer item. We
Yeah.
had tried to have an ATLV to clean the streets, but it kept breaking. So we don't need to be in that business, and we no longer utilize that equipment. But
Yeah.
we appreciate the
Yeah.
city doing that.
and so basically, this 50% of your budget is going to maintain and clean the downtown areas.
Yes, sir.
Basically what it is.
Yes.
Okay. How, I have a question. I don't know how to really word this, but what part of the cleaning or maintaining do the building owners do downtown? Do they provide any type of help of any sort? I mean, are their buildings maintained properly as far as the cleanliness of it, the overall look of it on the outside? Or is that something that we need to work on to help you to get them to do that, though?
So the property owners in the Marina Arts District do pay the levy, so they also pay us, in order to provide additional level of services, which includes keeping the sidewalks clean, and trying to keep this space in good condition. We have the facade improvement grant, so this board does make funding available for property owners to improve their exterior. And I think that, we work with them on a case-by-case basis. But, these property owners and these business owners, small business owners do take pride in their storefronts. So I think they are always keeping that in mind, and when they can afford to make those investments, they will, and they'll work with us and our team, and you do provide assistance in that regard. There are a few buildings that kind of stick out, and we've had conversations with some of them, and the costs are just astronomical to do some improvements or kind of maintenance that we might think is simple. But so we are aware of that, and we are working with them. And if there are things specifically that you see that you want to be improved, we'd be happy to deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hernandez?
In your, in the interlocal agreement, you have a reference to an independent audit. Have you done any independent audits since the inception of the agreement in 2016?
Yes, sir. We do an independent audit annually.
From, and that is provided to our finance department?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Pusley?
So with respect to safety, Alyssa, if you were going to do anything else to make the downtown area more safe, what would it be?
Well, in create a consistent
Boy, did I lead you
sense
into
of
that one,
security.
huh?
Yeah. So we do want to.
You can thank me later.
Thank you, sir. We have 6 objectives that we've outlined for creating that consistent sense of security. First off, continuing the partnership with the city and the downtown bars for the off-duty police patrol. A lot of times, you have people coming to our downtown area at night. They're imbibing alcohol. Their senses are a little bit dulled. We don't want people feeling that they're at risk or being at risk, right, in that state. So that is something that we really want to focus on, making sure that people are safe on Friday and Saturday nights. Working with the police department to reestablish a downtown patrol with visible round-the-clock presence on key corridors. As we were going through this plan, we went back to some of the original documents from 1992, and lo and behold, that was the same thing they were talking about in 1992. So that's why for this mission element, we really chose the term instituting, because somewhere along, our problems are not necessarily new problems, right? They're just problems we haven't adequately solved before, or maybe we treated it, but we didn't institute the clean and safe environment. So that's really what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to set up these structures so that this stuff functions automatically. We properly resource, we direct resources properly to these functions, because these are going to be the same problems, right? And that's kind of what the downtown area development plan said. You guys keep rewriting a plan as though there's going to be a new magic method for revitalization. It's the same method that it was in 92. You just didn't see it all the way through. So that's kind of what we're continuing to implement here. So that's, sorry, I got on a soapbox there. That's where we need to do that. The patrols consistently, prioritizing the evaluation of resource allocation and staff capacity to safety, working with the stakeholders to survey and understand how they define safe. When do you feel unsafe downtown? We want to advocate for a district-wide security camera system. I can't tell you how many instances that we have some sort of minor, street order level crime, vandalism, a burglary, something like that occur, but we have difficulty tracking them down. And because they're not high order crimes, right, they, PD is responding to a lot of very important things throughout the day, and we can't expect them, to stop everything because, somebody was yelled at, but also we need to know who's walking around yelling. So things along those lines are things that we could potentially be able to do with a proper security camera system throughout the district. And then we need to update our safety partnership. So this is a thing that was created in 2015. It's a bi-monthly meeting, but we really need to tighten that up. So that's another objective that we have for this year, wanting to have those crime stats, wanting to understand how many calls are we getting, what are the trends. Those are really important. We also want to work to mitigate the adverse safety perception impacts of homelessness in partnership with city staff, and then continuously install and maintain lighting. So lighting is a big impacts perceptions of safety and also deters crime. So the more lighting that we can have out in the district, I think the safer people will feel, and the less crime that will occur. There's an example of, I think, is even in Bogota, where they installed lights throughout the city, and they did murals, and they beautified all the frontage, and the crime rates just dropped because people aren't comfortable committing crime in bright light or on camera. So those are some of the things that we would like to prioritize.
Okay, so police patrol, more lighting, camera system.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where are you in developing or coming up with numbers to implement those kinds of things?
We have gotten preliminary numbers on a camera system. We do need to coordinate more closely, I think, with the police department to figure out how we can identify a provider that would suit everyone's needs and provide a proper level of comfort to everyone. So we have, some kind of estimated numbers. I think we could probably spend $200,000 a year and get a full system implemented in a few years. But I think that's one of the things where our needs downtown greatly outpace the resources that we have. So trying to prioritize and see what is the most effective way for us to deploy these resources will enable us to have the greatest impact.
Okay. Have you discussed that issue with the Crime Control Prevention Board?
No, but that is a wonderful idea.
Okay. And along with that, how have your conversations with Chief Markle about re-implementing the downtown patrol? Is that something that's on the horizon, or maybe a possibility, or?
Sure. So we have not, I've wanted to give Chief a little bit, and he's very responsive and a wonderful partner to us, but wanted to give him a few minutes to kind of get back up to speed on everything. The interim chief, Blackman, as well as our lieutenant, they have stepped up patrols on Chaparral Street, so there is more consistent activity. They're checking in with the businesses, especially with a lot of the increase in homeless activity that we've seen. But we have not necessarily drilled down to that level. Now, I do want to mention that we've checked with downtowns across the state. And for instance, in the city of Houston, the downtown contributes $1 million to PD and the ability to have a patrol. Now, our economic situation's pretty different. So we want to long-term build up to that, but I don't want to, we just want to be fair.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to have first reading of our new budget today, so now would probably be a good time to talk to Chief Markle and see where we are on that.
Okay.
Because I agree with you. I think that's an important part of, I've always said that for our downtown to truly be successful, we have to make it to where everyone feels safe going down there at night and walking on any street in the downtown area.
Yes, sir.
And that takes police patrol, it takes security, it takes lighting. You get all
takes
three of
money.
those. It takes money. And so those are the, I know the clean team is important, but, we need to look at our priorities with respect to how we make it successful. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Molina? I'm sorry. Ms. Fajardo?
Mrs. Who? No. Odd.
We also need to find Chairman Lerma a new set of glasses.
Yeah, thank you. A stronger set. Thank you, Mike, Councilman. Alyssa, thank you very much for the presentation. I think it's hard. There isn't anyone on the planet that doesn't need more resources to provide, right? More service. That's always the challenge. You've done a great job. This is very difficult because everything we're talking about is of priority. You won't come downtown. The whole cleanliness thing it's critical. And I can't tell you how many times people have said, oh, the flowers. It's amazing what flowers do. The flowers, because they just bring, which is why I'm sure all of you men, you either already have paid for a wedding or you will one day, possibly. Flowers are essential to a wedding because they're just beautiful. So you're going to have a wedding.
It's like one of the largest budget items.
Oh, it's
too.
one of the largest budget items. And then you just throw them away.
See, my friends don't discuss flowers with me, but
Anyway, they bring a vibrancy to downtown that is invaluable. But anyway, that said, I agree with all the comments made today. And I think, in the conversations that you and I have weekly, the camera system, it's really critical. To your point, Councilman, that camera system, and Alyssa, I would advise you to bring forth 3 plans. You give us those plans. And I know because we've talked and we just had a break-in into your building. And that's not okay. Now, we can't, in a perfect world, we want 0 crime. We don't live in a perfect world. However, I've asked, and I need to go back and follow up, because you were with me when I asked, And it was during Chief Markle's brief absence. So I'm going to go back to him, because my question was, and it may be there, what are the crime stats in that boundary? So that's what we need to be keeping up with. How do those numbers look? And are our efforts, whether it be a camera, whether it be, the manpower, police officers down there, whatever, we need to address it, because time and time again, I know you hear, I had to wait an hour for a police officer to get here. Well, the reason that is because of the imbalance, and the priority was over here and not here. And you're paying the same tax dollar that priority, it's all the same. It's about that balance. And so we have to do a better job. And that's what we're doing by hiring 10 more police officers this year. But that doesn't mean we're done with that. That goes to some of the problems we've encountered downtown. The brawl, the break-in, the guy standing around yelling like a crazy person. Nobody has that time. I mean, there's something bigger going on somewhere else. To you, that matters, the way that guy's getting the attention, because there's blood involved over here. So we have to do that, and we have to figure that out. Bring us the 3 plans for, here's what I need, and let's start moving towards that, whatever that may be. And this body will help you say, okay, I think I'm right in saying you're leaning towards the camera system being the first priority, because it's a system that's 24/7.
Yeah. Well, and you can't have eyes everywhere all the time, but
Right.
if you have that documentation
Right.
stored somewhere, then it can easily be. And this board there's precedent. This board has funded cameras at the intersection along Chaparral Street. We have them on the traffic lights.
Right.
But I think that, that was, several years ago, and this technology just advances so quickly. And so just kind of doing a check of that is something I
Right.
think that could be very valuable. So we will definitely do
Let's
that.
do that.
Mayor.
And then I'll get those numbers so we can see that and we can start tracking. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the great job.
Thank you, Ms. Wahorla. Mr. Smith?
Well, thank you for the excellent comments, Mayor Molina, but
We need a second pair of eyes here, too.
I think you mentioned, Alyssa, that we have supported cameras in the past to individual property owners. So what we're hearing, probably focus more on a comprehensive solution rather than a piecemeal solution. Another thought may be get with the university that security and drones go hand in hand. So we put a drone program down there, and we get some augmentation along that. And then nomenclature, the clean team. Well, we look at the clean team, and you think you got a street sweeper there. The clean team is much more than a clean team. We know, we've seen these changes, these intangible changes downtown, and a clean downtown gives you, it makes it more safe. A broken window theory on there, just having the vegetation and the clean vegetation, and I'm looking at the stats. I really think all of this goes hand in hand. So the efforts that you've made, the reason we're seeing much more investment. God, we look at that $144 million in projects in the works. We've only had $70 million. This is why. And to me, when I drive downtown, nothing strikes me more than the cleanliness. And I'm including that, just the overall appearance. The plantings on there, the more greenery we have, that's inviting. It gives you safety. So thank you so very much for, moving forward. I'm looking 3,000 to 11,000 plantings and stuff, and that's really what's taking us forward. So again, I mean, you and your staff, I can't say what a terrific job y'all have done and taking our downtown forward. So again, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Once again, I'd like to, you and your team are doing a fabulous job. When the planters came in, and I was walking down, that's the first thing I noticed immediately. It just brings happiness to you while you're walking down the street. The colors are so vibrant. You know, you're talking about trees. Well, Mayor Wajardo over here is a tree fanatic. Okay?
I wouldn't go that far.
And she loves trees, and you know what? This council loves trees.
We love trees.
And we're looking forward for us to plant trees in the downtown area.
Yeah.
That will bring a big vibrant look to it, to the downtown, and the shade especially.
Yes, sir.
You know, Peter, I asked you to work with Alyssa real closely on this camera project. I know that we can get different types of funding. You know, Mr. Smith brought up the university. You know what? That is a great idea. The university, I mean, you know, they want this, they want that. Okay, so this is what we want. You know, hand in hand, let's work as a team. But I greatly appreciate everything that everybody's doing. The downtown is looking vibrant, very nice, very clean. And I know it's tough, so this council, I know in the future will look at hopefully getting you a bigger budget so you can work with it.
Thank you, sir.
You know, don't guarantee it, but you know, we'll try to work as hard as we can to get you there, because we need the downtown area to look that way.
Yes, sir.
To your team, everybody here, thank you for all what you guys do, you know. Mr. Martinez?
Yeah, Councilman Smith stole my thunder, but yeah, with the university, in addition to the drones, the cameras at the building, the university also has its own police department and security that may be able to be utilized, because that is a university property that's there downtown. So, you know, I think the first step is we get with the university and come up with a plan, and that may take care of, I mean, it's not going to take care of all the issues, but at least for that small area, I think it'll take care of a lot of them. So, great idea, Councilman Smith. Great minds think alike, I think. And if there's anything that we can do to help facilitate, you know, I'm available for any of this stuff. I think it's great what we're doing downtown. I think it's great what the university is doing. There's so much potential there, and there are so many huge things on the horizon because of that. And I think this is just one more thing that we can plan with them together to make improvements there.
Wonderful. Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you. Those are some really great ideas. We've taken a lot of notes, and I'm sure we'll go back and study this recording to see whatever we missed and figure out how we can incorporate that into our objectives moving forward. So thank you all. Do you want me to touch base on placemaking and economic development, or are we good to move on?
There's one more question, ma'am.
Okay.
I just want to reiterate, thank you, Mr. Chairman, you know, be sure and talk with the Crime Control Prevention District. I mean, they have a vested interest in security of, you know, all across the city, and they provide great funding for additional police officers and whatnot. But, you know, Alyssa, we've been talking about that camera system since the creation of the DMD. I can remember us having discussions about buying fake cameras to put up, just, you know, to make people think we had them, but because we didn't have the funding or the money to do it. So, but I think we need to make it a priority and move it up the list and get that done. And it will provide another level of security that we don't have in that area. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And great job.
Thank you.
Mr. President, no, what were you saying, Alyssa?
I can provide an overview of placemaking and economic development, or if the board doesn't have any questions, all of these attachments were in your packet. So I can answer questions, or if you...
Any other questions, board?
I'm okay. Great presentation, Alyssa.
Great
Thank you.
presentation.
Just the first one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Chairman Ledema, Barbara Canales.
Oh, go ahead, Judge, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody that we have a really unique opportunity with CDBG mitigation that will be landing $180 million at our COG. This is a departure from the GLO's first, planning that there was going to be 2 rounds of this funding. The reason I mention this is because never before have we seen this much money at the federal and the state level for a variety of resiliency for the coast. And when you talk about lighting, you're really talking about safety. And so I would encourage maybe a potential joint grant potential or an individual grant with regards to lighting and even cameras might be all of the things you just talked about that are excellent could have a potential in funding, which I believe will be open as soon as the public comment opens, but maybe by December. So again, what budgets can't provide, sometimes you need to look around the corner and it's just sort of staring at us. I mean, the DOE also has amazing renewable energy. If you went to solar lighting, they're great grants right now in the marketplace, but there is money completely available to us. And I know that you all have a grants department at the city, Mr. Chairman, and maybe this is something that we could look into together. The NCDC is committed to working with DMD, and we would be most happy to see if any of that would prove valuable. I know that we talked fiber networks, and that's certainly an exciting opportunity for downtown, but most importantly, I think lighting and safety go hand in hand. So I would encourage that possibility. And that's all I have today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. That's a good idea. You know, I look forward to sitting with you and talking to you and Alyssa. Peter, maybe we can work on a joint effort on that since it is for safety. And I think we would really overqualify for that. But as far as I'm aware, we don't have a grant writer at this point.
We do in the budget, so,
Well, no, we don't have one hired though yet.
Right.
we don't. So October-ish, we'll have one on board.
We'll have one.
Okay.
She's gonna be real, or he's gonna be real busy.
Yeah.
Lots of grants.
Yeah, we do have a grants
That's the problem.
unit.
He's gonna be real busy once he
all
gets
over
aboard.
the place, yeah.
And Heather's here, our finance director, but we do have grants people that somewhat help a little bit on writing, but we'll have a full-time grant writer October 1st, if council approves it in the
I'd
budget.
like for us to take a look at this, you know,
Yeah.
to help with that downtown funding and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea.
Right, we're listening.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you, Judge.
Sir,
Thank you.
may I touch on placemaking and economic development, since this is the subject that we're
ahead, ma'am.
going through? Okay, so for placemaking, this is a new department for us. We have separated out, we used to have development and improvement all lumped together, but by separating these two things out, this is the biggest change for this new strategic plan. We're able to really refine what we're trying to do in the public space versus the types of economic development we're trying to support. So working on catalytic infrastructure projects, specifically this fiscal year, we'll be looking about shoreline connection or pedestrian connections across shoreline, the Marina master plan, court planning, and partnering with the city and the Marina on that. We understand Lawrence Street is in the SPMP, as well as Water Street is in the SPMP, and then working on construction access standards to make sure that we don't have streets closed for years, like we did, during the construction of the Cosmopolitan. It really strangled some of the businesses to have something closed for that long. So just trying to make sure that we don't even, have that as an opportunity. In big cities, you don't have construction projects where people can just keep, close the streets down. We'll also work on streetscapes, connecting people to and through downtown, enhancing the parking system, and then implementing family and tourist placemaking initiatives, especially in parks and public spaces. And then we have very specific objectives there. And then in economic development, again, because we pulled placemaking out to separate that item, we were able to refine this focus as well. So we're focusing on residential options first and foremost, trying to make sure the 58 units that are currently under construction actually get delivered to market this year. 139 units are slated to begin construction this year. And then we want to get another 150 unit project committed. Again, the development of these residential units takes many years, but if we can get a project committed, we know we can get that coming online, right, and that supply available here soon. We're also going to be working on our robust food ecosystem, coming up with a strategy for a food hall or a food incubator in the downtown area. Again, a robust food scene is a key element of a vibrant downtown. So that's something we'll be moving forward, working on an attractive and authentic retail mix, continuing our partnership with the retail recruiter. We've initiated a retail incubation strategy that we will be bringing forward some updates on that next month. Working on vacant properties and parcels. Specifically, we want to partner with 3 vacant property owners to facilitate the rehabilitation of those buildings. And then finally, we are kind of endeavoring into the tech-led, knowledge-led economic development arena, working to increase the economic strength of South Texas by leveraging our competitive asset of available waterfront real estate, right? So we already have all of this supply. We have the water. The valley has a very large population. San Antonio has a lot of innovation. Laredo has rail. We found that we'll get calls from Laredo or Brownsville asking about what we're doing downtown. We'll go visit San Antonio to see what they have going on. So we really want to kind of form a coalition of these South Texas cities to move kind of the urban experience and all of those, the economic strategy forward. So that's going to be a new item that we have this year in our strategic plan with the support of the board. And then, of course, we have promotions and we're trying to position downtown as an economic powerhouse, really identifying all of the stakeholders that we have in our downtown area, elevating that market position. And then in organizational management, we are going to have to look at renewing the downtown management district, the levy, potentially looking at those boundaries, figuring out, what is that funding level. We've had inquiries from property owners outside the district about wanting to receive some of those same very high-level services. So is that something we should consider? So working on doing those things. And then, of course, we're very particular about our data. So here are some of the metrics and benchmarks that we utilize and we'll continue to track. The benchmarks are the things that we accomplish. The metrics are just the things that indicate our progress. So that is our strategic plan and service plan. And I think we already went over all the questions, but if there's any more, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Ms. Guajardo?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. No, I think we covered everything.
Oh, okay.
Oh, goodness, I was going to say. Have we covered it? We're good. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. President?
Alyssa, you and I have had some conversations about this before, and I asked why we had not included the marina in the TIRZ area. And I understand the fact that, the city owns that, and it's, there's hard to see ad valorem growth in an area that the governmental entity owns. But the mayor and this council and several members of this council have been talking about the potential of the T-heads and the L-heads for expanded business opportunities. And I just think at some point we might want to look at expanding the TIRZ to cover that area to maybe help provide some growth, restaurants, shops, whatever. I think it's an extremely valuable resource that this city has never taken full advantage of.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Well, so the marina actually it is both in the DMD and in the TIRZ. Okay. The challenge is the revenue sources for the DMD and the TIRZ is tax revenue, and since it's all public property, it doesn't produce any of that activity. Right. But we could look at things like sales tax, right, and kind of establish a benchmark, and as we start making measured investments, we can look at, okay, this is the impact that we've created, and maybe we track that impact towards Type B funding, and then we can be really, secure about reinvesting that money or different sources of funding. So I think with the new leadership at the marina, this is the first time we've really talked seriously about partnerships. There had been kind of an invisible line before along shoreline where that was their turf and this was our turf and never the two shall meet.
Well, I guess that's
gone.
what you told me, because when we had the discussions before, you told me that you didn't really get involved with the marina with respect to the TIRZ, and so I had some concerns about that. So if it is included in the TIRZ, then we need to do whatever we need to do. The city's investing $20 million down there right now.
Plus.
Yeah, it's not just 20.
But you know what, Councilman, I will tell you, and I'm going to jump in here because I have spoken with Jonathan Atwood about just that, and Alyssa, and said, we're bringing this together. This territorial stuff, which no one, prior leadership was prior leadership, but it doesn't work that way. It's all in the same boundary, and he's, of course, 100% in. But no one was used to that. And I think with the master plan that we're working on now, that is going to really set forth what should go there, how do we implement what we need to implement, right? But to your point, but the bringing everyone together is definitely in the works, and that's between Alyssa, Jonathan Atwood, and we've said that many times, because it was disconnected, but it no longer is. It is moving. It's just,
Okay,
And
good.
two tangible items that we have in the document for this year, partnering with the city on the development of the Marina Master Plan. And then those shoreline connections, those pedestrian connections across shoreline. At this point, there's really only 2 complete crosswalks along the entire extent that you can get from even the hotels. There's no crosswalk between Peoples and 37, so how do people get from the Omni to the Seawall, right? So that's a project that we have as a priority. I'll get into more detail here because it's actually part of the next presentation. But making those physical connections and so that the pedestrian can access it is, I think, is a first step, and then doing that master plan is the second step. We spent $20,000, actually $40,000 in TIRZ funding this year, getting the same trash cans that we have in the Marina Arts District into the marina. So that was one of the first things that we did right out the gate after our first meeting with Jonathan, where he brought this up. And, we're excited to partner. Honestly, it opens up a whole new world for us. That's how we become the most vibrant downtown on the Gulf, right? That's our competitive advantage. So, yes, we are very happy to do that.
Yeah,
sir.
I just think instead of 3 restaurants down there ought to be 10.
Yes.
So I'm glad to hear you're moving in that direction. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good point, Mr. Pusley. And I think, Alyssa, the council is in favor of uniting the city of Corpus Christi. We're tired of having this side wants to do their own thing, this side wants to do their own thing. This council here wants to be united, and that's what we're doing, is bringing our city and all the departments together. And that's a big plus, and that's through the leadership of Peter, and this council. I greatly appreciate that, and we're going to move forward on that, So thank you very much to all those involved. Okay, we got another presentation?
Yes, sir.
We have 2
That
more.
we need
right?
to
Oh, no,
take
I'm sorry.
action on the items.
No, we have
yeah.
action. Entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to item H, presentation items, 2021 parking occupancy update.
Yes, sir. So this next item is an update to our parking occupancy survey. In 2016, we developed the downtown Corpus Christi parking study, and through that, we conducted an inventory of all of the parking spaces in the downtown area, as well as a survey of their occupancy levels. We have now reassessed that post-COVID, as well as a few years later to see what that utilization is like. And so the first item we have here for you is a table showing the occupancy use changes. So from the 2016 survey to the 2021 survey, we've seen a 22% reduction in the weekday utilization uptown, 9% reduction in the utilization in the Marina Arts District during a weekday, a 6% increase in the Marina Arts District during a weekend, a 5% increase in the utilization at Water's Edge, as well as an inventory increase. So that's kind of double, right? The inventory hasn't really changed in any of those districts we were talking about before. Marina Arts District has more inventory and Water's Edge, more inventory and more utilization. And then a 15% reduction in the C District.
Environmental Protection Agency.
So we have here a map showing you those changes. So we have the 2016 on the left, 2021 on the right. You can see that we have not really fully recovered from that utilization post-pandemic. This is a trend across the country. Cities are looking at innovative ways to now repurpose structured parking garages, surface parking lots, and because they're kind of lowest hanging fruit now for development, especially in places where there's not a lot of land available for development. In the Marina Arts District during the weekday, there's been a slight decrease. You can see the 3 main areas of change. There was an increase in occupancy in the middle, but a decrease towards the north. So in the north part of the Marina Arts District, we have that Bayview Tower, which was a large office and parking user. We've seen, some of that utilization decrease as people have kind of moved from the office. In the middle, you've seen a little bit of a let-off as well. And then towards the south, you've seen kind of a shift in the parking, but overall, just kind of some movement. And then during the weekend, you've seen an increase. So on-street parking is more utilized than it was in 2016, understandably, with the Cosmopolitan and more businesses being there now. There's also been, as you can kind of see, an increase in the parking in the Marina. So that Lawrence Street T-head, right, was under 50% occupied back in 2016. It's now above the 50% mark. So we're seeing an increase in activity there. And then in Water's Edge, we circled here the areas where that inventory has been added and where the utilization has changed. So in these new spaces around the Marriott Residence Inn, Oasis Brewing Company, Frost Bank, we have access. These were currently just vacant spaces, as well as the post-acute medical rehabilitation hospital. But those are now fully utilized as well. And so that kind of indicates we need to start paying closer attention to this part of our downtown area. And then in the C District, we've seen, understandably, with the change in kind of special events and activities, in 2016, this was the second to last week in August that we did this survey. 2021, we did it in June, but still right in the peak of the summer season. And so you can see in 2016, that's when there's a ball game, there's a concert at Brewster Street, there's something at the American Bank Center, there's a show at the Harbor Playhouse. That was what we were really looking at. And it seemed like the C District was going to be the highest priority for our parking structure. But now that we've seen this kind of taper off a little bit, we've changed our strategy, and we are now recommending to move forward in the next step with a parking garage feasibility study for the Marina Arts District. This is going to look at demand analysis, really focusing on an area that we've started calling our innovation district. With the university as a player now, we're currently the only occupants in that building, but you know that there are some plans to have a lot more utilization here in the future. We also have, the entire city blocks that are surface parking lots. So what are the development opportunities if we could organize that parking and start having a real conversation about that maybe being one of the next big capital investments that we make. But we want to understand the economics of that, and so we'd like to move forward with this board's blessing with this feasibility study to understand if there's a real strong case for investment here. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, board? Yep. No questions. Let's move on to item 4, TIRZ 3 FY 2021 right-of-way projects.
So this is an update on our right-of-way projects. Again, this is really the most standard and basic common use of a reinvestment zone. We created the incentives in 2016 in order to start getting this fund to perform a little stronger because our fund basically had no revenue to invest in the right-of-way. But now that we have that revenue stream, we're looking at reinvesting that space. And this is even more important because as we've began, our retail recruitment iterations, we've learned that recruiters will send somebody to come and see your community, and the first thing that they look at is the condition of the right-of-way. So they want to see if a city is investing in itself before they decide to invest or move a business or some sort of, new expansion to an area. And so when we learned that, it became very clear that we needed to start investing more strongly in this right-of-way in order to make sure that we're attractive community. So going into some of the expenditures that we have made this year, the residential analysis, some electrical repairs, a mural that was originally on the C District water tower, but we have now moved to a vacant building on Chaparral Street, redoing the sidewalks in Artesian Park, replacing some jasmine, planning for streetscapes, and then of course we have the new planning staffing costs. So that is how we've allocated that funding that this board gave us the green light for back in May or June. Again, on this mural, it was originally proposed for the C District water tower. We had signed the contract, the artist was ready to start, and then we discovered that the actual water tower was no longer in use. So we went ahead and decided that it was going to be better to tear that down, and we've now moved the mural. It is under development right now at what was the Hotel Corpus Christi Bayfront. I'm sure all of you know about this bright orange wall, right, that's just been there for a number of years. So we have partnered with Cameron Walls, who is developing a beautiful Corpus Christi style mural with flora and birds and different types of things to really kind of set the scene for that environment. So that is underway. Artesian Park, we have moved forward with concrete replacement. We're doing more planning about the gazebo, trying to see if we can get more closely to a recreation of what the original gazebo in the park looked like. That is going to take a little bit more planning, so we're working on that now. Jasmine replacement, this, we showed you what it looked like before. It was basically just a dirt hole with some non-functioning drip irrigation, right, surrounding each of these palm trees. And people would let their dogs use the tree beds, and then it was just creating algae. It was really unpleasant. So we've now filled that in with jasmine, which is a much nicer treatment. And then into the streetscape planning, streetscape tree planning. Originally, our goal was to identify the optimal tree options. We were looking at the Corpus, the 91 landscaping guide, and we wanted to come up with rendering, scope, and costing for the deployment of 100 trees. We had a lot of places that we wanted to deploy these trees. And so after meeting with several design firms, we identified some really key nodes that the streetscape treatment would have the largest impact. So we looked at what we're calling the Marina Arts tourist node around the Omni Goldfish bus, right? People want to walk around there, but it really is just very unpleasant to do so. Number 2, we're calling the Innovation District node around the university, PD headquarters, Education Service Center, Appraisal District. And then 3, to the south, we're calling it the South Downtown Tourist node. This is by the Marriott Residence Inn, the New Frost Bank, Nueces Brewing Company, and the Post-Acute Medical Rehab Hospital. And we realized there was a connection between all of those. They all included Water Street. And then we remembered that Public Works actually had a project getting slated to repave Water Street. So we thought this would be a really good way to quickly plan and deploy some streetscape treatments. We've prioritized that as part of the retrofit. We've engaged a group called Design Workshop that is actually responsible for Rock Rose Avenue in the Domain in Austin. They specialize in some really interesting streetscape treatments with a variety of greenery. And since they've already carved this out and they're so well known for it, we thought it was a really good fit for this type of project. So rather than breaking up the sidewalks, we can basically kind of repurpose some of those underutilized parking spaces and put some shade trees in those structures. And I think it's going to make the community really excited, and people are really going to enjoy this improvement. So we have launched that plan, and that is under development now. So some other right-of-way projects that we have identified. If we wanted to install the same seawall trash cans that we have in the Marina Arts District and now the marina along the seawall, we could get them in white. It's about an $82,000 cost. District-wide power washing is about $21,000, and curb painting is about $30,000. But I wanted to revisit the pedestrian enhancements on Shoreline. Now, there is a Bond 2018 project for pedestrian enhancements on Shoreline, but we are most assuredly going to have more than that scope more scope than what we have in funding. So we will be bringing to this board some recommendations, and we will be asking for some funding. So we wanted to introduce those intersections to you now. Of course, I-37, you can see there needs some improved crosswalks, some improved landings for the pedestrian. Twig Street, as I mentioned, you cannot get from the Omni to the seawall, so looking at the treatment that will be required to making that space safe, it will require kind of a fill-in, some new curbs, and some pedestrian safety components, including a hawk sign. Cooper's Alley, we'd like to install a crosswalk where there's currently a deer path created by people who walk where there is no sidewalk, as well as some street trees that we think would be a nice treatment, as well as a crosswalk, because for some reason you can get over to that park, but you can't get from the south to the north. You have to go over one block, and just people don't do that, so they just walk where there isn't a crosswalk. So we want to go ahead and designate that space. Kinney Street, we want to go ahead and take that street tree treatment and include it around Sherrill Park. We are recommending a Natchez crepe myrtle with a color that is appropriate, right, for a Veterans Memorial. And we have coordinated and had conversations with the Parks Department. I think this aligns also with the trees that have been added to the park in front of the Art Center. So there's quite a few trees being installed there. So again, just creating that shade canopy so that people can walk around Corpus Christi and it not feel horribly miserable. Yes, sir?
Mr. Puzzler?
I noticed your use of crepe myrtles in several of these pictures, and I love crepe myrtles. I have several of them at my home as well. But they are not an evergreen tree.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for a shade cover that's year-round, crepe myrtles are not it.
We were thinking more about like cherry blossoms in DC and Japan and how beautiful they look in the summer. Maybe we alternate. Maybe we kind of mix it up a little bit with a variety of tree. We can revisit that. That's a great point. It's also not as hot in the winter
And
for
they-
us as it
and
is in the
they
summer.
And crepe myrtles, when they shed, it's a mess.
Right, yeah. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
We'll, that's a great point, sir, and we can revisit that and kind of see. Again, I think that when all the crepe myrtles are blooming and all the flowers, right. Right. Yeah, no, you're right. Okay,
And you're gonna spend a
Thank you, sir.
lot more money cleaning them up,
yeah,
to be honest with you. You really are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at other places we want to install, okay, so back to Kinney Street, again, putting in a sidewalk that was somehow never reconnected, and then putting in some crosswalks, designating some crosswalks, so getting people from the Marriott Residence Inn over into Water's Edge Park. Right now, I think it's quite an intimidating jaunt as a pedestrian. We've received a lot of emails about it, so wanting to make sure that we're thinking through that space and making people feel comfortable. As well as Park Avenue, some of the crosswalks I think are warranting of some restriping. And then Furman Avenue is another area that we need to problem solve. We have a surface parking lot to the west, and then no way for anybody to get over to Water's Edge Park, except for Park Avenue and then I think Buford. So again, when there's no crosswalk, people don't not cross, they just cross without a crosswalk. And when you're coming around that curve really sharply at a high speed, it's a particularly dangerous place for people to be jaywalking. I've seen people cross here with strollers. So we don't have a solution for this piece yet. It is going to be a complicated piece, but we do know that this is something that needs to be addressed. So that's something we wanted to put on your radar. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Fuzzley, your lights on? No? Okay.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Any other questions? No? Alyssa, we want to thank you and your team for all the great reports that you presented today to the board. We'll look forward in getting some of these things accomplished to help you get these things accomplished. You know, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.